Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Ascension Files. I'm here with my very good friend, Kerry Kott, and we're going to jump right into how the universe made us do it. That's the name of her company. The universe made me do it. She's all about this spiritual ascension and this human development and all about the love. So, Kerry, jump right into it. Talk to us about how the universe made you do it.
Oh, such a big question. How did the universe make me do it? Through feeling. That's the first thing that shows up, through feeling. I've always had this innate knowing, like this innate, like I would know things. And that's something very present with me throughout my entire life. And I remember when I was like a teenager and at different points, they'd be like, Kerry, how do you know that? And I would get so frustrated. I was so frustrated with that question. Because when people would ask me why, and sometimes people still ask me why, there's no why. And I would get so frustrated and they'd be like, don't you just know things? Like, don't you just know things? Like, why did I do that? Because I just did it. Like, I just knew to do it. Like, and how did I know that about you? Well, I just knew it. Like I can piece it apart and be like, oh, well, I felt this, I saw this, blah, blah, blah. But that's me like trying to wrap explanation. And
That seems like something you do a lot. It's almost like you're going more complex into your sojourn, but simplifying it for yourself and the other people that you speak to about it. And it's like it's like you said, you don't think about ascension, you feel about it, you be about it, you live about it. And so explain to people that transition for you from a more of a logical based thought process, because you do have a PhD in Eastern medicine, correct?
it's not a PhD. I have a dual master's, and then I have a bachelor's in health
Oh yeah,
sciences, and
just
I'm
a dual
licensed,
master's.
but not a PhD.
But still, like that's a lot of that's a lot of matrix. That's a lot of like simulation. That's a lot of going through the analytical logical processes to learn about your sojourn in a way. And then all of a sudden you're like, okay, I got all that information. Now I'm going to apply it. And I've been watching you apply it for the last 2 years since I've known you, 3 years. And it's incredible how you were in this ascension the way we are in it in 2021, like that 3 or 4 years ago. You know what I mean? Like you were completely about, and everyone's like, what is wrong with you? And you're like, nothing. And everyone was like, that girl's crazy. And all of a sudden now they're like, I'm crazy? What? And so you figured it out early. You figured it out early. And so kind of talk us through that. How'd you go from that left brain to your right brain and into your heart? Ooh, that was good.
Ooh. Well, first I want to say I'm always still figuring something out. There's always something.
Yeah.
And there's always been this part of me where I wasn't willing to settle for just status quo of the mundane of what I was being offered. So even though I had these logical parts, like I graduated from high school and I went into accounting because I love math. I love physics. It lit me up. It wasn't accounting, but I just thought that's what I'm supposed to do. I graduate, I'm supposed to go to college and do something. And I actually turned down a path of basketball because I had it that I was supposed to. I know I had this scholarship to go to this community college. Love basketball.
I would never have pinned that. I would never have pinned that. I could just see you over here, just like you over here chilling underneath a tree, writing some poetry, and then just like just like Akeem Olajuwon, just what up? Like,
yeah, I can sink shots from the half court.
Oh,
I was just so magic on the court. It was it's
all that intention. It's just go in.
Just go in, boom. Like it was just so alive for me. And
yes.
I chose something else because I thought it was like the practical thing. So obviously somewhere in there, I had this like, I'm supposed to do this thing. And even though I had my heart in there, like that, my heart didn't win in that conversation. And then I had some health issues that showed up. I ended up having exploratory surgery when I was 19 years old. Yeah. And I got a diagnosis, recommendation for steroids, medications, and I was just like, this is not it. Like, I knew in my heart was like, this doesn't make sense to me. This isn't what it is. I don't know what it is, what my solutions is, but I know that this isn't it. So I kept standing in that space and just being like, thank you, no, thank you, no. And then I got introduced to a family friend who did acupuncture, kinesiology. He was a holistic dentist. He was like this whole variety of cool, magical things, and I didn't understand them, but I knew it felt really right. There was a human to human relationship connection. So it 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 blossomed and has opened up for me when I honor my heart, even if it doesn't make sense. So like, I knew that there was some other solution for me. I didn't know what it was, but I just knew. And so I stood basically kind of like I stood in the space of that knowing, and I didn't waver. Like, I didn't give up on that. I didn't go do a bunch of Western medicine additional things. Like, I'm super, like, honestly, without Western medicine, I could be dead, like that was a purposeful intervention in my life. So this isn't, for me, it's never been a either or is better. They just serve different purposes. And then in Chinese medicine school, the philosophy of Chinese medicine is really in the human mind, body, spirit connection. So while I was going through this training, something for me has always been take what is in really resonance and utilize those pieces, because there's so much out there.
Do you feel
and
like some people
I had to take.
Do you feel like some people in their educational path, whatever it is, they feel like they need to learn everything instead of learning, just like you said, just taking the pieces that resonate and then running with it? I feel like we try to like just put as much stuff in here as possible, but in reality, use like 3 or 4 things. And those 3 or 4 things could take you wherever it is you're supposed to go. So how did you just inherently know to just like take what resonates and leave the rest?
Yeah, I feel like there's been this drive inside of me, that's just part of who I am. And I also have this component, whether it's like my natural way of being, or maybe even some of it's like, I'm not going to just be like society, like a mold. I'm willing to acknowledge it could be some of that in there, but like, just had this thing of, there's not one way, and it doesn't have to look or be. And I've just found so much light and success. And by success, I mean good feelings and connection and beauty come from taking the components that resonate with me. And sometimes, and maybe for some people, like wanting to learn everything so that you're really well equipped, there's could be all sorts of different factors. And then also being willing. So I've had some teachings in pranic healing, food healing, all these different things that I've explored. And there were some components, as much as I love all of that, there were some pieces that I was just like, gosh, I'm not aligned with this story here. Like this, no, this doesn't make sense to me. This isn't what's resonating with me. So, I just made conscious choices to not take them. So one of the things, like, I don't believe that things have to be a big, long process. Like some things are, there's like components of life that are never ending, but, and I don't necessarily believe in hierarchy of like, something. And once I'm to a certain point, then maybe you could tell me about it. It's just deliver whatever's necessary in the moment, allow that moment to be. And so I've been able to work with my patients and my clients in a way that's what is in the best, highest interest for you now. And sometimes I pull out nuggets from teachings that I don't usually work with, like that aren't a part of like my consistent tool bag, but it's like, wow, we're going to do this because this is what's needed here.
So explain a little bit about how you go about working with your clients and your patients now. compared to when you first started out? And did you start off as an entrepreneur right away? Did you go work with other people in your respective field before branching out and doing what you're doing now?
Oh, I dove right into like, oh, I have a license. I know these things. I love this. Like, let me just have a business. And then crickets, it was just like cricket, cricket,
Wait,
cricket.
you tell me
And I,
if I build it, they're not going to come? That's not what they've been telling me my whole life.
well, I actually believe that if you build it, they will come. I just, right out the gate was like, okay. And I had seen in the town that I grew up where my mom and dad could just put a sign out by the road and boom. But they've also been a part of a community for years. There's connections, there's relationships, there's all these beautiful things. And so yeah, I just started off the bat, and then I worked with someone, and then I was like, and then I went and worked with someone for 2 years, and that was really beautiful. And then I felt like, no, it's time for me to go again, like in my own separate space. There's a huge difference in how I work with people now than when I first started. And I had, and through the process, I had a lot of not hiding behind my intuition and behind my knowing. So I would work with my patients and I would just know things, or I would see things and I would feel them. But I was, in a way, hiding behind the medicine, which I love the beauty of Chinese medicine. But I would also, I would take like, oh, well, your tongue looked a little red at the tip. So that tells me da, 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 da. So that little nodule in your ear around your throat area, there's a lump, in your throat, and, having thyroid or even like inability to speak, you feel like you're kind of muffled sometimes. Like I would use the things that the body was so beautifully orchestrating, but I would usually know them before I saw them. But then I was using them as my tool because I was afraid to just be like, I just know things.
Yep.
And so what began to happen is I had to make choices along the way to not hide behind that, and to also not hide in going really deep with people. I like to go super deep.
I meet so many spiritually based entrepreneurs that won't allow themselves to go all the way. So being that you've had a spiritually based business for a while now, and you did it in the end of the world, now you're in the new world. I mean, it's beautiful to watch what you've been preparing yourself for this avalanche of opportunity that's coming. I bet it's just been incredible for you. And so tell somebody that's either thinking about starting a spiritual business or trying to grow their spiritual business how to trust that knowing, how to trust that divine inspiration that got you to where you are anyway, And I know, like my friend, she pulls tarot and she'll still read the book, even though she can just easily pull the cards and just start talking and spitting and making it beautiful for somebody. She'll read the book because she's scared that they won't receive the things as well. And because tarot can be triggering. So we're already thinking for the other person, but the other person's coming to us for that metaphysical, for that esoteric healing. So it's that's why being human is my thing. It's all about how do we get over ourselves? How do we get over our ego through healing our trauma so that we can ascend into the being that we designed ourselves to be all along. And so how were you able to do that over time? I call it making it real for yourself, and getting over that imposter syndrome.
You hit on such beautiful things in there. And one of the nuggets is about the distinction between doing it, like your friend. Obviously I resonate. What I just shared is like hiding behind all these things, right? And not feeling like it would be received, thinking about what the other person may or may not. It's all just an assumption. Okay, maybe it's happened before, whatever. And so like making this story up about them when really they're coming to us for who we actually are. I have to remind myself of that even still now. Even still
Just you
today.
saying that makes me uncomfortable at some points in my body. Just saying that, because I
Good.
just got, yeah, you're right. I've just gotten to that point of accepting myself, and now it's like other people want me for me. You know, it's like what? That makes me uncomfortable. You know, that's that love. That's that
Yeah.
perception of love. That's receiving, and that's something that we're not the best in our society because we think it's egotistical to receive. We've just been discombobulated all over the place, you know?
Or there could be a nugget. So this has shown up for me. It can be a nugget of offending the other person, hurting them in the process. Because so much what comes from my heart isn't about taking their thoughts and feelings into considerations. It's about going straight to the depth. And they're going to be there's a high probability they're going to be uncomfortable to some degree, but it doesn't necessarily mean their uncomfortability comes from me. It's what I get to show them, through what I can see and feel and know, right? So I've had that, like, oh, well, if I'm like this, maybe they're going to be uncomfortable. There's going to be some sort of negative retribution. They're going to leave. So one of my
It's so true. Oh my God.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally. And so one is like, what would I even say to somebody? How to trust that is you have to be willing to put yourself out there, but to also even just having the awareness, being able to have that acknowledgement and the awareness within yourself first is one of the space openers. So I don't know if, for example, with your friend, if she's into the space where she's actually said to herself or out loud with anybody else, like allowing that energy to move, to be like, I am reading out of the book because I don't fully trust in my ability to deliver, or whatever it might be. That, oh, I feel that so deeply. Like, if you can just take a moment to look around and say, I'm doing this thing because I'm not fully there yet. And also allowing yourself to be there. Allowing yourself to be there, like, it's okay. So like when I was going through that process, and I still do, like, there's still another depth that I'm being called to, Adam. And it's uncomfortable. There's uncomfortable points, and I'm being asked. So like I'm doing nude nature photography, and I'm doing nude retreats, and the nudity is a portal. It's really just a portal of removing, our programming and our stories, and allowing this, like, to really be seen in these different ways. So it's just a conduit. And there's different components of like self-pleasure and touching the earth and really getting nitty-gritty and pressing your body against the earth and smelling it, tasting it. And when I'm trying to do something that's not really juicy and earthy, I feel it. And I'm being asked, nope, you can't. It's almost like I hear, Kerry, that event won't fly for you that way because it's not from your heart. It's still got some stuff of these other things. You can choose that. You can choose that, but choose it with this awareness and make it from that choice. And so
real quick, what about you talk about going, the more in depth you go, the more in depth you go and the further you go, that's to your discomfort zone, through your discomfort zone, the more success you're finding though, right? The more abundance is coming in, the more clients, the more opportunities, and you're aligned and harmonized at all times because you're only following this. So there isn't really a lot of that, oh, I have to do this today, or I'm stressed about that, or I'm this and that. Like that's what a spiritually based business is
yeah.
This is my thing is I want to live where I work. I want to work where I live, and I want to be on vacation every day. And I want to work every right. And I want to love working every day because life is, to me, work. Worship came from the Sumerian word work. So the first civilization to be created by the olden gods took the word worship, and then whoever created religion used that word to say that we're worshiping God, but in reality, we're just working. And in reality, because we are our own God, and together we're Christ consciousness God, whatever you want to call it, we're all one. So when we're working for each other, we're serving humanity, we're serving one another, we're worshiping God. do the work that we do for one another, and then that elevates everyone around us. So let's go into these retreats you talk about. I love it. I mean, if I was a woman, I would have been there already, but maybe one day you'll have a co-ed and I'll go. I might have to have a little mankini. I might have to go mankini in the beginning. I don't know.
Actually, I do have not, I have a wild human retreat. I'm not fully, I have it that I'm not quite fully aligned. I would love a masculine counterpart to hold space in that retreat. And that hasn't
It's got to be during
aligned.
the summer, though. It's got to be during the summer, because it gets a little cold.
Well,
I'm Polish. You know what I mean? I'm Scandinavian, so you know how it goes. Like,
yeah, but you should be so in line. I'm Polish too. Come on.
But your stuff's inners. My stuff's outers.
My nipples are kind of outer, aren't
that's true. I mean, luckily, like my boobs aren't as big as they used to be, but like I'm ready for a nude retreat now. Like I got my my birthday suit going on, good and stuff. Now I'm playing, but I'd totally do it. You know why, Kerry? Because I'm where you're at. As soon as I hear something, I'm like, I gotta do it now.
Yeah.
Like a little bit of like that little bit of, oh shit, Adam, you just made a face. You judged. You got to do it now. You can't, judge. Do not judge things you're not willing to do. That was what held me back the most in my life, was sitting there on the side, or how about this, being the kid who was stood next to the bleachers, judging all the people on the dance floor because I was too scared to go ask a woman or whoever to go to dance or to dance by myself or to do any of those things. And that went up till I joined the military. And in the military, it became fuck it, which isn't healthy. All right. If you go into things saying fuck it, you don't know what's going to happen. It's going to be a good time, but there's going to be some repercussions, And so now I kind of go into things like, let's see what happens. Not fuck it. I'm not there anymore, but I'm down. That's where I'm at. I'm down to try anything because, like you said, the more I chase that discomfort zone, the more I challenge myself, the more I go on the other side of that and do all the things that I used to judge or talk down on and all of that. Everything I did back in the day that I judged, that I now use, has helped me get here. Now we're talking about these retreats you do. We're talking about your company, how the universe made you do it. And then we're talking about your your Chinese medicine. When did you start to merge all of that? And at these retreats, do you offer healing and what types of things do you guys do? Do you all do?
Yeah.
Sorry, I don't know. I don't want to offend anybody. Guy! Oh,
so when did I start merging? Like everything started to merge after I got my license and I went into pranic healing and I started integrating that. And then I noticed the integration of that just transformed things much faster for people I was working with. And then I did the food healing components and that like integrated more, like everything began to become more integration. I started meditating. I got more into law of attraction, listening to Abraham Hicks. And then that totally shifted a lot of things for me. So that became another integration. And then over the past, I'd say 2 or 3 years, I just got to this point where I was feeling done with patient in, patient out, being inside of the building. I was just like, my love of nature has been with, I grew up in the country, in the wilderness with a forest and water. And it was like that part of me, I had disassociated to some degree. And it was just calling me back. And I was like, I no longer want to be in buildings. I want to take my patients outside. And so I started doing that. And then I started taking people on silent nature walks. I was just like, we talked way too much sometimes. Like there's so much beauty. And by that, I really mean is that there's so much beauty and power in being silent, and especially being silent with a group of people, whether you know them or not, because there's something uncomfortable there. Like the feedback was always, like I loved hearing people's feedback about being intentionally silent, being out together collectively, and the processes that would show up for them and that they let just ride out, like things, are we almost done yet? How much longer? Wanting to say something to someone. And instead of speaking it, just allowing it to come and go. Like it's an active meditation, collective meditation. And so I did that. And then I was like, I don't want to be confined to needing to be physically everywhere with, like I need to be physically here to share my gifts. So it's just like, I don't want that anymore. So it became this part where I was breaking apart some of my teachings or what I thought that I had picked up about how things were supposed to be done. And I was like, I want more flexibility and more ease. And so that's how I am to where I am now. And I also went on a traveling extravaganza for a year in there. Like I just
that.
dropped that. Yeah.
Man.
So, which was a total manifestation.
Isn't that like kind of like the whole point of your podcast and the universe made me do it? Wasn't like that the whole goal was to do that travel extravaganza, and you manifested that the whole thing. It was incredible. And like getting to spend time with you last year and hear about it, it was awesome. So why don't you tell some stories?
Well, my favorite story is actually how it came about.
Oh yeah.
How it showed up. This is so juicy. And so I grew up in this country, small town, this environment, and I was just aching to get out. I just wanted to go explore the world. I wanted to move to New York City from literally being in like a town of 400 people to I want to go live in New York City and see what like being around a bunch of people is like and buildings and all this stuff. And I never moved to New York City that I know of. I did in my heart for a little while watching so many episodes of Sex and the City. But so
damn it, Miranda.
But I had this like there's something like I want to go travel and do all this stuff. And so I moved out of Michigan, went to Georgia, Florida. I was living there. I wanted to travel. I just kept fantasizing about traveling. I just kept thinking I would love to travel for a whole entire year all over the world. Just love that. But I didn't feel settled. So I had this like ache to go. But it was coming from an unsettled, like I moved a lot, even within like the Tampa Bay area. Yep. And so it was just like this constant, like I just wasn't settled. And then I moved to a particular part of the Tampa Bay area called Safety Harbor, and I fell in love. I fell in love with the house that I was living in. There was these 3 beautiful oak trees. It was like this bubble of a little town. And I would walk every day and I would meet new locals. And I like there was connections happening in that particular area. And I just was like blossoming and I was loving it. And I knew my neighbors and I was just feeling so good. And my friend owned the house that I lived in. And so I was renting it from her. And then it's just so perfect, right? Everything so juicy and good. And then my friend says to me one day, Kerry, I'm going to sell the house. And I was like, what?
I just got here.
What? And what happened was there was these bees that were coming into the house. Bees were coming in and coming in and coming in. And they were dying. Like 20, 30 bees a day were coming in and dying in the house. And I was like, there's somebody out there. And I was like, this person, this isn't a conversation environmental. I need to talk to someone who's connected to bees that has this spiritual understanding. Like I didn't want to hear about pollutants or anything. It's just like I was really clear who this person was. So I made a post on Facebook and one of my friends connected me to this guy, Albert the bee guy. And I was like, I got to meet him. He invited me over. I met Albert. As soon as I met Albert, the bees disappeared. They stopped coming into the house. And I was like, clearly I was supposed to meet.
But how many people don't listen to synchronicities? How many people don't listen to the signs? So think about that. They're
Right.
always here.
And like,
They're always here. Every moment.
and the feeling, like I knew that it wasn't an environmental person conversation. I also knew there was somebody I needed to meet. I didn't know who this person was, but I followed the breadcrumbs. Like, oh, I'm gonna put a post on Facebook. And then that connection was made. So as soon as I met Albert, the bees disappeared. You know, they stopped coming into the house. And so met Albert, I met this woman then I met this woman and I'm having a conversation with her. And she said that she travels for free on standby. And I was like, tell me about this woman. And she's like, yeah, well, I work for, Delta Airlines and I work part-time and I get to, I put luggage on the plane. So it's like my workout, I enjoy it. And I get to fly standby for free. So if there's a seat, I get on the plane. And I was like, oh my gosh, I could do that. I could totally do that. I love everything about flying airplanes. I could bring so much light and essence into those people getting on the plane. Like, I'm going to do this. So I go online. It was just like a few days after that. I go online and there's an opening in Tampa for Delta Airlines. I mean, this is perfect. Delta flies to where my mom and dad live. I could work for them part-time. I make my own schedule. So I started the application process. And it's this process. So you do one process, then they come back and be like, okay, thank you for completing this. Now please do this process. Okay, so I did the second process. Okay, thank you so much for completing this process. Now we have this other process for you. And I was like, I stopped. And I was like, wait a second.
Way too difficult.
Is this what I really want? Do I really want to work for an airline for free flight? I was like, that's not what I'm about. I'm not about means to the end. I'm not about doing
My
this.
whole life was means to the end. I refuse to do means to the end anymore. No way.
Yeah.
You compromise your soul. You compromise yourself when you do means to the end.
And it's a story that I must do this thing to get this thing. Right. And so I was just like, oh my gosh, no, I don't want to do this thing. Would I be really good at it? And would I enjoy components? Yeah, but my heart's not calling me to it. I was like, I just want the free flight.
Yes.
I was just like, literally, I don't want to do this thing for the flight. I want to keep doing what I'm doing in my heart and my passion, and I want this free flight. So I stopped. I literally stopped the process. I didn't do one other damn thing. Kind of like my thing about, like, I knew there was a different healing modality or whatever for me. I didn't know what it was. And I was just like, so the same thing again, like really super clear. I just want the free flight. And I stopped and I let it go. And then some time had passed, whether it was a month or a couple of months. My friend Albert, big guy, had worked for an airline. He had worked for an airline decades ago. Okay, great. You tell me stories. So cool. I love it. Tell me about it. You tell me stories. And then one day, Albert goes, I'd really love to gift you a flight pass that I have. I think it would change your life. And I was like, what? Free flight for a whole year, anywhere in the world, as much as I want, as long as they got a seat on the plane for me.
Wow.
And
did you know? So you studied manifestation at that point. You were studying the law of attraction. You were meditating. You were doing all these things. Was this the first time you really threw it up there, and then it came back and manifested this way? Was that the first time?
No, it's not the first time. No, this was just another magical moment along the way. Yeah. So this was just, but the thing is so you know how you hear like make peace with where you are? I really saw how I fell in love with where I was and the door opened for something else. And I was like, seriously, universe? Oh, yeah. Thank you I get it. I get it now even more. How much making peace with where I am actually is the doorway. I was like, I was so in love with being there. Even though my friend was selling the house, I was going to have to move. And I was like, I'm going to move to St. Pete then. I love St. Pete. So I was just like,
Because love,
totally.
it's a force, unconditional love. It's
And I
unconditional
was
love.
like, I literally had to take moments and be like, I'm accepting this. I'm going to go on this travel journey. And it was for a whole year. It was what I had been imagining, a whole year around the world.
Imagining's one thing, doing it.
Well, right, but it was my imagination that literally manifested in the year. There were components of it. The year I had, I did visual things. I had a map in my living room. I put pins in places I'd lived, traveled to, wanted to go to. I had little airplanes that were actually made out of maps. Like I had all sorts of things, like, but it really was, I mean, they were all contributions, but it was really falling in love with where I was. And then it was like, here you go.
That's exactly what I've been realizing in my life is I've been in a situation, it feels like the last 31 years. Let's just go with the last 7. Since I got out of the military, I've been in a situation that I felt stuck in. Because I felt stuck, I stayed there because the lesson was you're not stuck, you are where you are and everything's perfect. And it took that 7 years of struggle, which all trial and tribulation is the misapplication of energy or thought. That's all trial and
Love that.
tribulation is. You know what I mean? And so, and as soon as I surrendered and then surrendered, blind faith, did the whole 9 yards, Jesus take the wheel, whole thing, right? And now it's like just and it's just taken off. And I've had many beautiful manifestations before now, but they were like one here and one there and then one, because I call it sloppy manifesting. Like you're a big Abraham Hicks fan. She talks about sloppy manifesting, where we want something in our mind's eye, then we start fretting about it, and then all of a sudden it's birthed and it has like 3 arms, 2 heads, and it's like sweats too much and it stinks a little bit, and you're like, yeah, I'll love this. You know what I mean? Like this isn't the thing I wanted, but I guess I wanted it. Thanks. I'm gonna go put this somewhere else, and that's what happens is we end up getting what we want from the universe, but it's a hybrid version of what we wanted because we're too busy trying to think about what we want instead of just putting what we want, trusting. I guess the theme of this whole thing is trusting ourselves. So trusting your knowing, trusting your intuition, trusting where you are is exactly where you need to be. And as soon as I started looking, as soon as I changed how I spoke about the universe, right? Why is this happening to me? No. Why is this happening for me? Every time. And once you can ask yourself that question and feel your feelings, you're still human. It still sucks a lot and it's still hard. So you're allowed to bitch, moan, complain, do all those things that you need to do to get through and process that. But you have to hold that higher perspective where, wow, woe is me, this sucks, but it's only going to make me better. Fuck. And then you just surrender and you let it happen. And I think allowance is something that's been a theme in your life, is not only setting the intention, letting it go, but then allowing and receiving. A lot of us don't want to receive. The reason I'm stuck in my situation, I'm going to promise you this is the reason I'm stuck in the situation that I perceive it to be, because it's all BS anyway. It's all narrative and storyline. Yeah. The reason is because I wanted it my way. I wanted to do it. I wanted to make the money. I wanted my business to do, you know what I mean? It was all ego. It was all me. It was all this. And I convinced it all security and all. No, people were, but we've talked the last 3 years, so much abundance has come to me, but it's come to me from other people. And I've had to surrender to my ego, needing it to be a certain way, and just receive it how it comes and move forward with it. So did you always have that capacity, or did you have to work on receiving and allowing and being?
So juicy, because I'm actually in a space right now of literally questioning, not questioning in like I doubt it, but discovering what receiving really is. I'm in this embodiment program right now, and one of my recent coachings was to not give feedback to the other participants and to not inquire deeper with them, but to just receive. And at first I was like, well, how will they know that I love them? How do they know that I'm here for them? And then I saw, wow, so much of what I receive comes from what I give. Like my ability to give is likened to my capacity to receive. So if I've given to you, Adam, I know. So when you're talking about this is so very
Oh
now.
my God! You just blew my fucking mind. Like, I know this, no. But I just got reference. Why I wasn't receiving was because I wasn't giving, because I felt like I wasn't. Oh my God.
Yeah. For me, I've just come to bring into my awareness and acknowledgement that my worthiness to receive is to my capacity to give. And as much as I've known that, I have a friend in my life who generously just gives so much to me. And it took a long time for me to even receive a meal from him. A meal. For him to like take me out to eat. He's taught me so much. And now I'm realizing how much so I've let him in. He's like a safe space to receive, right? But I'm just so present to how that story has been playing out. And so I literally have gone 2 weeks and just receiving. And I'm just like, what does receiving even mean to me? And like, first I was just felt really awkward and weird. And like, oh my gosh, like I just have to receive this thing. And so I'm in this space of still like, wonder how else I could receive. And so like for me, receiving and giving are synonymous, truly. I mean, like when I give to someone, obviously I'm receiving too, but when somebody gives to me, it's a gift to receive, like, and I've gotten that for a really long time. Oh, and so even sometimes when I talk about this, like I'm receiving, it feels a little like I can even feel it in my body. Like my body wants to move a little bit more.
It's uncomfortable.
Yeah, like, and I'm just like, wow. And so I'm practicing this. And by practicing, I mean, I'm doing this with people in my life right now, new people that I'm meeting for the first time. Like, and even in some way being a guest on your podcast without feeling like I've given you is a space for me to receive. I mean, I'm giving and sharing and there's all this, but
my
like
thing is it's needing to reciprocate. Like I if you give me something, right, I have to meet it. I have to even keel it, or you're above me and it's gotta be even, you know what I'm saying?
Oh, that's such torture.
It ruins, but it also ruins what that person's giving you because you muddled it. You muddled their gift. It's like, here, I made you this. I picked this dandelion out of the garden for you, and you're like, I got you this pen, and I'm like, but I don't fucking care about your pen. Just take my fucking dandelion. You know what I mean? You get all like. And so what I wanted to talk about the giving and the receiving is because in my mind, law of attraction, you want to put out the energy you want back. So people will go, you want to give money because money will come back, and you want to give your time. No, it's not that. Description is ego. It's externalized. What you're saying is the more you give, the more you'll be willing to receive because you feel comfortable because you're doing that and they're not making you feel bad, because that's really, in the end of the day, when it's our inability to receive. It's because we don't feel like we're worthy. B, we don't have anything to give back. And there has never really been a time in our life where things are free. I remember I was in a gas station when I was about 8 years old, and I went to me and my dad walked up to pay for the gas, and the guy goes, here, do you want a free lollipop? And I said, yeah. And my dad goes, here. He gives it to me, and he goes, but remember, nothing's ever free in life. And that somebody somewhere had. No! You know, no, but it made sense for me in that terms of somebody somewhere had to pay for that, so be grateful. That's really what the lesson was be grateful. There's nothing free in life. Somebody somewhere had to do something for this to be where it is, so be grateful for the free thing that you got, but in reality it cost somebody something. So I understand that now, but if you were to take that from nothing's free in life, and you're not supposed to receive free things, you know, we actually de-manifest the stuff that the universe is coming. I mean, I made a video. The one of the 100 vlogs I did was on the universe is always trying to bring us what we want. We're just not willing to take it.
Yes. Have to be receiving. We have to receive it. And it might not look the way we think it will look. And
see,
we have to receive it. You have to receive it without the immediately here you go. Your dandelion analogy is perfect. Right. And the other thing is that I'm acknowledging so much more recently with this new opening, and I'm starting to ask people and share this like very vulnerably and authentically, because it's the only way I feel like right now I'm going to be able to like actually see what's really occurring. Is I had this conversation with this man the other day, and I felt like he was just sharing so generous with me. I felt so receiving. And I wanted to go say some things. And I said, oh, I have some stuff I want to say, but I'm not going to say it. He's like, oh, you know, you can share. And I was like, that's not what I'm not holding back here. This is me trying to fill the space with stuff to feel like I am an equal contribution. And he was like, your vulnerability and your openness with me is a really huge gift. And I was like, oh, yes, 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 yes. Like, okay, feel it, put it in here, like stamp it out, DNA. We got this, like that, like, wow, that's what's happening. And I don't care how many times I have to have that conversation with someone for that to continuously be imprinted in me. Because the thing is I get that from this end. I get that from this end when I'm like there with someone, and I get how much of it is a gift to be with someone and to give them something, whether it's tangible, emotional, touch them, rub their head, whatever the hell it is. Like I know what a gift that is as well to receive in that process. So like what was, you know, like
where's the disconnect?
Some story.
Yeah, where's that narrative?
Some story, nothing's free. Like watching, it's been an observation of it. It's like, you know, growing up where people are actually very generous with each other, but there's still some sort of my perception was there was still a tally going on. There's still a tally because that person has done something for you, that then will become a day when they will come and they will need something in return, and then you must give it. You must give it because they did something for you. What? And I'm actually seeing so much more in this conversation now. Having said that, is sometimes I don't want to share or give or receive because that's what it's been. Holy shit! I don't want to receive because then I might be due to give something to you that I might not have the capacity. Like, what happens if I don't have the capacity to? What if you ask something of me that's totally not in my boundaries? Like thinking about
and
men.
I have to express myself, and I have to tell you that I can't do that. And
what if a man gives something to me? Presence, love, focus, a gift. What if he's gonna want some sexual favor in return? I don't want to be. What if I don't want to perform that?
How about this?
I made that up.
I know, but I'm saying, but we're afraid of conditional love because there's conditional love's been used against us before. We're empaths. We're emotional, spiritually energetic beings here on this planet at this time to show the way for the denser humans to then come into their beingness and see that we're all one together anyway. So for us, maybe the reason we developed this mentality is because there was conditions to the love we gave and received growing up.
And then like how many times have I been conditional with my giving?
Oh my!
Sometimes
I just recognized that. Oh my God, so much.
Yeah, like I've realized sometimes what happens is I show up for my friends and let me be there for you because I need you. I'd like you to hold space for me about something, instead of just asking for what I need and saying, hey, can you just hold some space and just listen, and be really clear, like what I need. Like, I don't want any feedback. I don't want anything about what I could do or not do. Like, can you just listen?
And we just come to our friends and our family. We just word vomit all over the place. And then we get mad when they give us advice or they tell us things, but we didn't communicate at all what we needed from them in that moment. So let's finish this conversation, because I have a feeling we're gonna have millions more, because this is great. So let's finish this conversation with boundaries then. So we went through the whole how the universe made us do it, how we got to this point. We're trusting ourselves. We're listening to our intuition. We're starting to receive. But my biggest challenge right now is speaking my boundaries and dealing with the repercussions of the egos that come at me. I avoid because I don't want to deal with it, because my triggers are still so intense. So let's talk about setting boundaries, and let's talk about allowing someone to be where they are triggered, intense, come at you, and not taking it personal. Those are the two elements for me right now.
Yeah. I'm discovering new spaces with my boundaries right now too. I feel more concrete and excited about it. There's uncomfortability at times, for sure. Again, like having the awareness of what is this really about for me. When I said about what am I really afraid of here, my thing has been like, people will leave me. They're going to take their love away, or I'm going to get punished. They're going to take something away from me is until now been the theme. And so like acknowledging what that really is, and then being able to try it on. Like, it's the repetitive.
Gotta do it. You gotta try.
Of showing up for yourself and doing it, and doing it in a way that's true to yourself. Don't make it about the other person, because it's actually not about the other person. So like, I often think about like saying no when I think about boundaries. It can be actually about saying yes too.
Can be
about letting things in as well. But what has shown up for me typically is like, I don't want to hurt the other person, which is actually a cover up for, I don't want to receive the repercussion and feel somebody's disappointment or unhappiness. I don't want to be responsible. I don't want to feel it. I don't want to be rejected. That's actually the story. Like, I think the cover up is like, oh, I don't want to hurt their feeling. Okay, yeah, but what's under that? Like, for me, it's like, go deeper, underneath the thing, deeper and deeper. And then it becomes nothing. And what helps me a lot now, what I do is I take pause. When somebody asks something of me, I take a pause. I'm learning to take a pause. Like, even if I see a message notification, even if I read it, even if they know I've read it, take a pause. Like, my pause could be 5 minutes, or it could be 5 days. And something else that I've been integrating is communicating. I received your message. I haven't gotten to it. I don't have an answer for you yet. But also, if I know it's a no, to actually honor that, to not say no, maybe in the future. Don't, like, if it's a no, something that I used to do was like, I would try and like put the icing on it and like maybe some other time, which was a lie, was totally inauthentic. And then that person would come back and invite me to want to do something with me again, or invite me to do something, whatever the case may be. Now it's still a no, and it jumbles up my energy, and it's exhausting, and I'm tired and I'm fatigued. And so really speaking your truth doesn't mean that you have to say no because I don't like you, no because your energy is not right for me, no because I don't like doing that thing. It can just be really like, I'm a no to this. Thank you. No explanation. It's like say the no and then shut up. Like, don't explain yourself.
We get stuck. Like me, I'm a talker, and I say it I'm a talker because I keep saying I'm a talker literally every interview, but we all know this. It's why I do these things. But I talk myself into shit. You know what I mean? Like most people could talk themselves out. No, I talk myself in. Like I'm good. Sales. I literally could be the best salesperson if I could just shut the fuck up.
Well, you could also say until now. Just put it until now.
Boom, until now. Exactly. I'm talking about the old version of me. I exactly right. This is the old version of me.
And literally, you can move the energy. I'm talking about the old. This came from the past until now. Like literally, our words can help
Self-talk is
us.
so important. Self-talk is so important. It's everything.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
So you were setting boundaries a lot last year. You were telling me about being more communicative. You were talking about no matter how awkward or you said it. And I've been working on that too. I'm not exactly perfect because what I've realized, what my one of my things is I'll speak my truth and it'll be received, but then nothing will change. And then nothing will change. And then nothing will change. And then nothing will change. So the letting go now.
Yeah.
And being and accepting, right? Accepting and letting go that is what it's going to be. And guess what? It has nothing to do with me, but it's reflecting something inside of me. So why is this happening for me? And guess what? In the last 3 weeks, it feels like, why is this happening for me? Why is this? It's just been so intense.
You know, that makes me think about, so where I am now, so I have this off the grid cabin. I'm in the forest. It's, you know, and it's walking distance to where my parents' house is. They have Wi-Fi there. So I go there to use the Wi-Fi. I mean, I don't just go there for the Wi-Fi, but
70%.
Yeah, honestly.
Yeah.
And so I go into one of the bedrooms and I close the door. And I said, when I'm in here, the door is closed. I am working. That means do not come in here. Do not knock. Do not show me, you know, nothing. Nothing. That means vault gate, nothing gets in. And my mom, knock on the door, open the door, come in. Hey, look at this, puts it right into my face. Like I don't even get to say yes to it. Like it's like, boom, there. And I'm like, whoa, green monster. And then I was like, okay, my mom is such a beautiful gift for me, right? Like she's a beautiful, not ignoring how I feel. You mentioned that earlier. So that's the thing. This isn't about not feeling, because there's power in feeling, actually allowing yourself to feel, not just be like, oh, I'm angry. No, like, I'm angry. Yeah. Like feeling it. And I was like, my mom is such a beautiful gift. So, you know, those people that are up and close and personal, you know, like we get reflected our own shit. So I said, okay, my mom doesn't respect my work boundaries. And I was like, what are my work own boundaries about? And I'm like, wow. So when I'm working, I don't even have my phone on silence. So my mom is a text message coming into the room that I honor, or you know, I see it's doing something, like even just seeing it pop up, or I have my phone on silent, but I can see the screen light up or whatever, you know, like, okay, put it face down, put it on do not disturb, or, you know, like, oh, well, then I say I'm focused on this, but then I go answer an email. Oh, I remembered, instead of just making a note about the email, like I go tend to it right away. I was like, so clearly my mom's boundaries with me are just a reflection of my boundaries with my work, which are shit. And so I started restoring my work boundary integrity. And what began to happen, I also have, you know, this connection with this story. And what has begun to happen is there are less interruptions, because I have less interruptions. And what's happened out of that is I've also started taking intentional time to work inside my cabin on my computer with no Wi-Fi, and then integrating those pieces when I am on the Wi-Fi, which is not how I've traditionally worked.
And maybe even,
but it's quiet.
And maybe even going to your house and spending maybe 15, 20 minutes with your mom before or after you go do some work. And then now she feels seen, heard, and acknowledged because she just wants to be around you. She made your body. All right. She made that thing with her body.
I know. And I know that's one of the things I get presents to is I'm like, oh, she wants to be with me and I'm not with her. And this is her, you know, we're all children, right? This is her acting out, saying, pay attention to me. And when we get to the juice, that's actually what comes out of her. When we get past the crust of stuff in the space, is what comes out is spending time together. Like she doesn't, that's not happening. And but I'm over here in overwhelmment land, and I'm like, I don't want to focus over there. I want to do that. Like, are you helping me? I got this stuff going on. Or why don't you help me do this? Wouldn't that be fun for you? Do you know how to do it? No, shit.
And that's the thing. That's what's crazy is the people closest to us are. It's like for me, setting boundaries with someone I just met. That's going to be nothing anymore.
Yeah, I got you. We just met. Hey, just to let you know, boundary.
All right. So this is how it goes. Between 9 and 6, fuck off. I don't fucking want to see you. I don't want to hear you. All right. I'll go spend an hour after we're done. We'll be fine. But now my people closest to me and stuff, I'm like, I'm really mad right now, but I'm not going to let them know that. And then, and I'm like, why did I do that? And you're like, Adam, every time you didn't speak your truth, you literally tallied it in your head. Didn't speak it there, didn't speak it there, didn't speak it there, didn't speak it there. And what I've also started to realize is this whole thing, especially when you move into the ascension, when you move through the layers and the levels, and this truly is a simulation. So the universe is using these people closest to us to provide us with an opportunity to reflect what it is we still need to shine light on inside of ourselves. And what I realized is the more you set intention, so I get triggered, I just go unconditional love, unconditional fucking love. And I still feel how I'm feeling, like we talked about. You know, I still get upset. I let my human, because I'm not my human. I'm not this body. I'm the higher fractal consciousness, God, creator being that is in charge of this vehicle and this vessel run by a different consciousness. It's whatever. That's a whole other hour-long conversation. So what I'm trying to get at to wrap this up for me is when I picture myself sending love to somebody who triggered me, when I picture myself sending unconditional love to a trigger or to myself, within the next day, the energy changes. And so what I'm saying,
because you've shifted it.
You don't always have to have that awkward conversation with somebody.
No, that's the thing. Usually you don't even have to have a conversation. You don't have to even say, this is my boundary. When you shift the energy, it naturally corrects itself. And when you love instead of hate, because that's the opposite of love, right?
Like I don't think you can hate without loving something first. Like, I truly don't think that's possible.
Right. And like, but when you shift, like, it makes me think about, like, when you shift that to the love, to sending love, to focusing on the love to yourself, to the trigger, to the person, you become the conduit of who you really are. And that's what really shifts it, you know, like
being the beacon, being your authentic vibration, the most authentic resonance you can be. People can't stop. You cannot not feel that. You cannot not see that. And you cannot not hear that. It's truth. And truth is a lion. It doesn't need to be defended.
Yeah. And people are here to be loved as much as they are reflectors, but they're not our source of love. Like, source is our source of love, and we are here to love each other. So just as much as, you know, especially those people close to us reflect things that don't feel good, that we'd love to really blame them for, they are just as much here for us to love and to feel alive and who we really are through and with. So like, hell and shit, the people we feel the most intensity with can also be the people we feel the most depth of love with.
It's always that way for me, because we love so deeply that it hurts us when somebody else is hurting. It hurts us when somebody isn't choosing the best optimal choices from our perspective, which we have very limited perspective into other people's lives. So when we start pushing
serving them, you know?
And I realized that, like you said, sometimes just being there with someone in silence and just giving them your energy in that safe harbor, that safe space, that is so much more healing than any word, any modality, any drug, or anything. And that's something I'm learning and I'm working on is, you know what? Sometimes things don't need to be said. They just need to be felt. And that's what the Army of Energy is all about. That's what the universe made me do it is all about. It's stop thinking so much and start feeling about it. and see where that takes you, because everything's perfect.
Yes.
We're all beautiful, and we're all in love. We truly are. We're all made of love. We're all in love. And so, Kerry Kott, take us off for the end of this first. This is the first episode of this conversation, because this is amazing. So, what do you got to finish this off, and then we'll sign out.
To just receive this energy. Close your eyes. Feel your love. It's okay to feel.
This was wonderful. I had such a great time with you. We always do. We're like just two giant balls of energy. Like, I can have no energy, and then I see you and I'm like, wow! This is like, damn, you don't need nothing if you have the right people around you. I promise you that. You know what I mean? So, big hug, air hug.
Yes.
And that's another edition of the Ascension Files with Kerry Kott. I hope you enjoyed this conversation. If you want to check her out on Instagram, Kerry, what's your Instagram?
The universe made me do it.
And there it is. I'll have all the links in the bio below. I also have links showing up throughout the interview with her contact information. If you want to join the Army of Energy, hit that subscribe button. If you want to learn more about what we're doing and want to be a part of it, hit me up on Gmail. Check me out on Telegram, t.me/Army of Energy. And with that, I hope you have a wonderful day, an even better evening, and we will see you at the same time next week. Take care and goodbye.